Welcome to Toyota History Tuesdays. Mitchell from Fred Haas Toyota Country, and today we're going to be talking about the history of the Toyota 86. We're going to follow it all the way from the beginning, where it pays homage, and where it is in the Toyota lineup of today. So to start this whole journey off, I want to ask two questions of you and of my Fred Haas Toyota Country family. The first, what do you think of when you think of the Corolla?
Reliability.
Affordable and reliable.
Affordable reliability.
Affordable. Reliable.
Affordable.
Compact.
Fun and compact.
All right, fair enough. And the second question being, do you think of the Corolla as a race or rally car?
No.
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 Neither.
Oh no.
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 Well, they may be right, but in order to go back into this history of the Toyota 86, we're going to go back to a time where the Corolla was a race and rally car. So that brings us to the AE86. The AE86 was a Corolla variant that was designed to be sporty between 1984 and 1987 in Japan, or it was called the Corolla GTS in the United States, although there were slight differences. It affectionately is called the Hachiroku in Japan, which means 86. You can also just simply call it the car from the cartoon, and many people will recognize what you're talking about on the internet. But we'll get to that. This car was a front-engine, rear-wheel drive car. It came in a two-door coupe or a three-door liftback and had two variants, the Levin and the Treno. The Levin had built-in headlights and the Treno had pop-up headlights. The engine was an engine called the 4AGE engine. This was a small, light engine that was able to pump out 128 horsepower. Now that might not seem like that much, but the AE86 Corolla, they had a curb weight of 2,300 pounds, which for a frame of reference is 600 to 1,000 pounds less than the Corolla of today. What made this car so unique is that the red line of RPMs actually sat at 75 or 7,600 RPMs, which was an incredibly high number. Most cars of today don't even come that high unless they're a sports or muscle type car. Uniquely, this car featured a live rear axle. A live rear axle is a simple, lightweight, easy to maintain and design axle. It's strong, it can take a lot of power, and actually most muscle cars of the day had a live rear axle. On top of that, what made this Corolla a very unique vehicle is that it was extremely well balanced, 50% on the front wheels, 50% on the back wheels. So all of these attributes made for extremely agile handling. So as you probably already recognized, the AE86 features that 86 number that would later be featured in Toyota's car of today. But where does this name, the AE86, come from? But like we said earlier, it had the 4AGE engine, so the A is pulled from that. It had an E80 chassis code, and the E and the 8 were pulled from that, but that E80 chassis code was in the 6th variant. So it was the AE86. And this car was so popular and had such a cult following that Toyota chose to pay homage to it when creating this new Toyota 86 sports car that we know today. So we asked if this was a race or rally car, and the fact was, it really was both. The AE86 Corolla entered into the British Touring Car Championship and won the whole event twice. It was used in a rally car because of its agility and lightweight speed, but that's not even where the true talent of the AE86 lies. And that was in a sport called drifting. So drifting was actually invented really as a standalone sport in Japan in the 1970s. This individual named Kunimitsu Takahashi, he's called the father of drifting. He was a professional motorcycle racer that actually switched to professional car racing after an accident in 1962. He was so successful and he was so much fun to watch with the screeching tires and the drifting, which was unique and unconventional for racing events, that he developed a very huge following. Now, if Kunimitsu Takahashi was the father of drifting, then the king of drifting was an individual by the name of Keiichi Tetsuya, who later became called the Drift King. Now, Keiichi Tetsuya, when he was a younger man, would drive the mountain roads and drift around the tight curves and the rugged roads in a Corolla AE86 model. He was so good at it that the underground racing circuit developed such a huge following for him that he was sponsored to become a professional race car driver. And he won a lot. On top of that, he released a video called Plus P, which was an artistic video of him drifting throughout Japanese mountain roads in his AE86, and that rose not only his own drifting standing, but the AE86's standing much higher. He was actually called in as a consultant and for a cameo appearance in Fast and the Furious Tokyo Drift. And his actions and his rise to fame inspired a manga comic series in Japan called Initial D, which went from 1995 to 2013. This manga was a huge series. The collection of the books alone sold 40 million copies worldwide. It inspired an extremely successful anime television show, which then inspired a live-action reboot, and tons of video games that featured this individual racing through Japanese mountain roads in illegal Japanese street racing in AE86. So the AE86 became a cultural phenomenon for all of these reasons, and to this day, finding a AE86, Levin, or Treno, or even in America, the Corolla GTS, is extremely difficult or extremely expensive. So how does that connect to the 86 of today? Well, in the mid-80s, Toyota was at the height of its sportiness. Not only did it have the AE86, but it had the MR2, it had the Celica, and featured the Supra. So with these four sporty vehicles, they had a lot of sport in their lineup. But Toyota of the mid-2000s was known for different things. It was known for being
Quality.
Reliable.
Reliability.
Great.
Reliability.
Quality.
Reliability.
the MR2 was discontinued in 2007. The Supra Mark IV was discontinued in 2002. The Celica was discontinued in 2006. And if you consider it a sports car, which I don't know if I lean that way, the Solera was discontinued in 2008. The Supra, of course, revived in 2019. So Toyota as a company was known for and focusing on completely different things at the time, making the best vehicles for getting from A to B in the entire world when it came to reliability, affordability, quality cars. Additionally, focusing on the SUV market, and the Great Recession hit in 2007 and continued until 2009, and of course the impact would continue for years afterward. So focusing on a sports car that was a gas guzzler and had a high price tag was not something on their agenda for the time. But in 2007, a concept car, the FTHS, was premiered, which stood for Future Toyota Hybrid Sport, which suggested that Toyota was breaking back into the affordable sports car market. In 2008, Toyota would purchase a large stake in a company called Fuji Heavy Industries, which is the parent company of Toyota's competitor Subaru. So that means that Toyota and Subaru would be working together on certain projects from that point onward. So Toyota and Subaru were kind of leaning towards doing another SUV, but they then sort of shifted their focus and decided to do a sports car. Toyota just wanted it to be rear-wheel drive. This brings me to Tada, a 20-year automotive chassis engineer who was a veteran at Toyota. Akio Toyoda asks to speak with him urgently in his office. Akio Toyoda, of course, being the vice president of Toyota at the time, and brings him in and says, I want you to make a sports car and there are no limits, which is every automotive engineer's dream, really. And it's kind of awesomely ironic. When Tetsuya Tada took the job at Toyota, he said to himself, wow, I could really make a sports car, but told himself to stop daydreaming because he would need way more experience for that. And then here he was, no limits, new sports car. So what would become Team 86 was formed, including another chassis engineer, Yoshinori Sasaki. Somebody on their team had owned 4 or 5 AE86s back in the 80s, and when they talked it out, they decided that this new car should really pay homage to and be inspired by that sporty Corolla. What does that mean? It means it's going to be light, affordable, it's going to be smaller, pretty simple in the bells and whistles, but most importantly be super fun to drive. Other inspirations included the 2000 GT and the Toyota Sport 800s. So in looking for inspiration on how to design this car, they took to the Toyota Sports 800, which had a boxer engine in the front and it was rear-wheel drive, much like they were kind of going for. Now a boxer engine is an engine that actually fire outward parallel to the road rather than vertically or at an angle like in most conventional engines. What that does is it brings the center of gravity on the car down even lower, which will allow for greater maneuverability and agility. So when they had decided that they wanted a boxer engine, they were presented with a problem because Toyota didn't make a boxer engine and hadn't for quite a long time. But their new friend Subaru were the experts at it. In fact, they only made boxer engines. So taking a Subaru boxer engine and a Toyota fuel injection system, they make the engine called the FA20D. So taking all these unique attributes that they were going for, they combined a very unique car, a sports coupe, front boxer engine, rear-wheel drive, agile car. Interestingly, and controversially, Tada didn't set benchmarks for the car. He wasn't looking to set the record for lap time, or he wasn't looking to go from 0 to 60 in the fastest out of all affordable sports cars. That's not what he was going for. He said, quote, "For the 86, we didn't set up any numerical targets like lap time or acceleration. We had one test driver, and after each set of tests, the only thing we'd ask was, did you enjoy it?" And the answer was always yes. Of course, this philosophy created a problem when pitching this idea to Toyota management. They said, and I quote, "How does it measure up to the competition? Is it faster? Is it more powerful? What can we use to sell it?" Tada's answer was nothing. Those benchmarks is not why he made that car. It was for the driver to just extremely enjoy the experience of driving this car. So Toyota management wasn't thrilled and actually tabled the project for 6 months until they had a chance to test drive the car, in which it was immediately greenlit and went towards production. Another thing that was really innovative and abnormal for Toyota as a company at the time was that Tada wanted the driver experience to be unaltered. No features or programs that help keep you within the lines, keep you a certain distance between you and the car in front of you. None of those hand-holding safety programs, which Toyota really does enjoy putting in their vehicles, as reliability and safety are really their focus. So when Tada said, "I don't want any of those things," it was a little bit of an uproar, but he got what he wanted. It actually takes some really out-of-the-box thinking to present a car like this with all these unique features without having that really huge benchmark marketing figure, but just the fact that this car was the most fun to drive that it possibly could. So in 2011, the FT86 concept car premiered. It was a huge deal, especially paying homage to the AE86 in name. It got a really huge reception and showed that Toyota was digging back into the sports car market. You may be thinking, I haven't heard of the Toyota 86 until like 2016 or 2017. What's the deal? Well, if that's the case, then you're most likely American like I am, and it was sold as Scion FRS up until Scion went defunct in 2016. It was in America, it just had a different name. When it was finally released into production in the 2012 model year, it got a really good reception, it sold well, and it won all these sorts of awards like Best Driver Performance Vehicle, Best Affordable Sports Car, then just Best Car in some publications, Best Driver's Car, Best Performance Car, and all these publications gave the 86 these sorts of awards. What really made it unique, not only were this boxer engine, front engine, rear wheel drive, lightweight, homage to the AE86, it was very forgiving to drive. You could be extremely agile and it handled super well. And to quote Akio Toyoda from his own words, quote, "The car responds to good driving skills." And I think that's a really awesome thing to say about any car. In 2016, of course, the United States and Canada got 86 finally on their production line under the name of the 86, no longer the Scion FRS. So this car had a culmination of a bunch of super unique characteristics, and it really makes kind of an awesome oddball in the auto world. It's a combination of the AE86 inspiration and cult status, and the dream and vision of Tetsuya Tada, the chief engineer. So at Fred Haas Toyota Country, we don't have an 86 on the lot right now, but we can order a 2021 model for you. We just wouldn't have a chance to test drive it first, unfortunately. But if you are interested, give us a call at 281-357-4000 or visit us at 22435 Texas 249 Houston. Thank you so much for watching. My name is Mitchell. This is Fred Haas Toyota Country, and join me next Tuesday for Toyota History Tuesday.